and welcome to the Wednesday Night War Preview Podcast. I'm Adam Wilbourn from WhatCulture, joined by Michael Sidgwick and Adam Clery from WhatCulture to preview everything that's about to happen on AEW Dynamite and WWE NXT tonight. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts, where we not only review the Wednesday Night War, but also Raw and SmackDown pay-per-views. We have interviews, roundtable discussions, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. As I said, joined by Adam and Michael, both paid shills of NXT and AEW, respectively.
Actually, sorry, I've got to stop you there. I was actually quite critical of NXT this week, so now I'm a paid AEW shill.
Right, okay. Just as long as we keep up with those sorts of things. Before we dive into what are two really good-looking shows, who do you think is going to win the Wednesday night ratings war tonight?
Hang on. The one time you would have been justified in doing this, you didn't actually say, could tonight's AEW Dynamite be the best TV show ever? Because, Jesus Christ, it looks like amazing. A lot of people are saying, it looks like a pay-per-view card. No, it doesn't. It looks like it could be the best TV program in wrestling history. It looks amazing.
It reminded me of sort of, I realised I'm the worst guy to be doing this, but what about the Attitude Era? Like the old school...
Yes.
Oh, there's championship matches, there's stuff on the line, there's people returning. There's aquariums. But having said all that, as much as I agree that the card is absolutely stacked, NXT coming off one of the best weekends for them ever, arguably, not only, of course, with a brilliant takeover, War Games, but also that showing at Survivor Series. It's really tough to call, despite the fact that NXT just threw everything at the wall last week. Who wins?
This is a really interesting one because obviously, as I'm sure you do this every time you do this podcast, it doesn't matter who. Wrestling wins every single week. The wrestling fans win every single week. We win every single week because we get to talk about it all. I think this is by far the most interesting one because, like, the last week's NXT viewership figure was not artificially inflated. WWE can put whoever they want on that show at the end of the day, but it was inflated beyond what it naturally would have been by all the hype and all the inclusions. Like having Becky Lynch open the first hour. Like we've seen Kenny Omega's even said this week they knew they were going to lose the ratings for that first hour. They just knew they were going to because Becky Lynch was on it. It's going to be a lot less main roster centric this week, but hopefully they've done enough with Survivor Series and War Games to get extra eyes on the product, because the whole point of doing the brand warfare was to show that there was this great other show that's worth your time watching rather than it just being a developmental or a minor league of WWE. So I don't think going forward NXT will routinely beat AEW. I think there'll always be a bit of a gap in the favour of AEW, but I think this is the kind of week where they really need to hope they do win and win on their own terms and win by having their own matches and their own storylines with their own roster. I think this is the most interesting week for the ratings. Like the ratings debate's really tedious, like we know that, but this is the one week I think it is quite interesting.
I'm inclined to agree because if you look at the respective shows, as Cleary mentions, WWE put over NXT as big as possible without it being some ridiculous, transparent, 6-0 whitewash. It was quite sophisticated booking. It was very audacious booking. It was also incredibly very cynical booking. But regardless, they put over that brand huge across Saturday and Sunday night. In contrast, this AEW show was built towards superbly last week. It built Scorpio Sky versus Chris Jericho over the course of the entire Dynamite era. And the whole idea of Chris Jericho essentially advertising a sequel to the Festival of Friendship is going to be huge because Chris Jericho is a ratings draw for that company. Pac versus Kenny Omega is essentially a dream match. They've built, and again, that's that word, built, Hangman Page versus MJF for the beautiful Diamond Ring. Diamond Dallas Page is making an appearance to present it. Cody's back in action. He's a draw. Curiously, they haven't revealed his opponent yet. They're kind of playing with fire a little bit there because the longer it goes, the more the mystery brews. So if it's like, with all due respect, someone like Shima, they need to say that now. What I'm getting at is that you probably want NXT, if you're an NXT fan, to win this week, because if they don't, after all the work they've put in, that NXT ain't going to be the same.
So to make it more interesting, should we have a pasty bet here between the two of you?
But this is the thing. I think this is the one week where the ratings discussion is interesting, but I couldn't tell you which way it's going to go.
I think NXT will win this week by the kind of margin where it's essentially a draw, looking at the Nielsen metrics.
I'll tell you what, I'll take that bet. I reckon AEW, with this card that they've got, might just edge it.
If there's any such thing as karma, then yes, AEW will win because it's all about build, not reactionary crap.
Pasty bet it is.
Pasty bet?
It's complete role reversal. It's going to be so surreal.
Sausage roll reversal.
Very good. Right, let's start by talking about AEW. I think I know the answer to this question, but Michael Sidgwick, what are you most looking forward to tonight?
The celebration of Le Champion. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's either going to go one of two ways. It's going to be incredibly entertaining, regardless. They're either going to go all out with the promised aquariums and the like, and the clowns, and it's just going to be this ridiculously bombastic celebration, or I think they might make it look a bit crap on purpose, because the whole idea is Jericho's kind of in a philosophical battle with AEW management for the future direction of the company, who's to be credited for its success, and you can just imagine the subtext of like the elite, who are management, and Tony Khan just going, right, okay, if I have to do this celebration, you're getting one bottle of bubbly, like a little plate of olives, much like the celebration that you had, and he's going to put it over as this amazing thing. Regardless, it's almost guaranteed to be actually exceptional pro wrestling TV.
Do you think you'll get a thank you?
No, but if I can just do a brief aside, right, I think they're building this thank you thing and putting it over so much that towards the end of Chris Jericho's world title reign, whenever it might be, people are going to get clued into the fact that they don't actually want it to end, and whichever guy puts an end to it, he's actually going to say, like, thank you to Chris Jericho because you've actually done loads for this company. And I think it's going to be like a really sweet and bittersweet moment of pathos. That's where I think that's heading. You're not going to get the thank you tonight.
I was going to say, do you see any way that Scorpio Sky leaves as AEW World Champion?
No, but that's because he's a TV challenger built in possibly the most perfect way. It's Le Champion's night.
A lot of people have said about this. Oh, why haven't they put this as a pay-per-view match? But like you say, it's the perfect TV
match,
World Championship match that has been built throughout Dynamite. Adam Clery, we're also seeing a rerun of Pac versus Kenny Omega, which will be a brilliant match yet again. But do you sense that this is going to be another loss for Kenny Omega, enhancing that spiral down he's been on?
I mean, that was one of the major things I was interested in when they started doing AEW. The way that, obviously, with Kenny having such an important backstage role, he was quite happy to not be the focal point of in-ring action, and obviously to build towards that eventually changing. They were giving him this constant stream of not embarrassing defeats, but certainly like high profile, like humility-inducing defeats, and always to people who, you know, are conceivable threats. It wasn't like these were huge upsets or anything like that. Genuinely, I don't know, but it's one of those things where it's quite easy to come on and talk about this because it doesn't really matter. Like, it's Pac versus Kenny Omega on television on a Wednesday night. Like, that's the kind of thing 12 months ago, you know, you were having to come up with absurd scenarios by which, Pac might get a release here and he might be able to go to New Japan. They might put him in this. Like, it's just a gift. It's all a gift. It doesn't matter. Like, I mean, you've said that, like, it's been perfectly built. I don't care. Like the stuff they're giving us, even if they just drop the perfect build, is still incredibly entertaining pro wrestling, and I don't really mind who wins this. I just know I'm going to be entertained for the 15, 20 minutes to give it.
I've got Pac winning this because I reckon he's going to have a date with Le Champion at Bash at the Biche.
Dans le Biche.
I reckon Pac's going to win because they've been really getting behind him. I think he's a perfect challenger for what is essentially a glorified B-level pay-per-view. Like, Pac's amazing. He could headline shows, major shows. I don't think he's quite there yet as a character. But what I can't wait for over the course of this match is Kenny Omega going for that one-winged angel and then realizing, I can't do this because he done us with a brutalizer last time. Yeah. So I think there's going to be a lovely sequel element to their all-out match here.
And Cody's return, I mean, as much as you're worried about them building a potential opponent for him, it doesn't really matter. It's his reappearance in AEW, isn't it?
Yeah, now that I've thought about it, did you watch the Road to Sears Center special? Not that if it was anyone but a surprise, Cody was not going to win this match. He clearly is. That's what it's there for, to reheat him. He's kind of given it away because he said that I'm going to have a match and I'm also going to address MJF at the end of it. So he's basically saying, I'm going to beat some guy in 10 minutes and then do a promo. See, I criticised AEW.
Speaking of MJF, it is the finale of the Dynamite Dozen situation thing that they've got on. It's the Dynamite Dozen beautiful diamond ring up for grabs. As you mentioned, Diamond Dallas Page will be presenting the winner of it. It's MJF versus Hangman Page. Who do you see wearing that beautiful diamond ring at the end of the night?
It's prop wrestling. It's prop wrestling, and MJF would be a million times better with that prop than Hangman Page would be with that prop. Now, people probably argue that, well, you know, He is, we did get that nice big win at the pay-per-view, and everyone likes Hangman Page. But Christ, give it to MJF. Imagine MJF going around telling people to kiss the ring, like full-on circa 2017 Andy Murray style. It'd be absolutely sensational.
But that's what Cody used to do in Ring of Honor. It's got like a nice symmetry there. The idea of MJF just cackling as Diamond Dallas Page reluctantly puts it on his finger, like just demanding to put it on the finger. Like the hesitation, the heat he'll get when Diamond Dallas Page goes, right, go on then.
And he's already got a history with Diamond Dallas Page, of course, mocking his Diamond Cutter.
It's the best storytelling company we've seen in absolutely years.
I hope he sticks him as well as soon as he's got the ring on. I hope you ever seen Ace Ventura where he's trying to find out who's lost the championship duel from the ring. So he gets one of them to just bash him in the face. Genuinely want to see the imprint of that beautiful diamond ring on Diamond Dallas Page's Moy come tomorrow morning all over social media.
But a great card to look forward to tonight.
I will be disappointed if this isn't exquisite, episodic pro wrestling television.
Right, let's transition over to NXT. Of course, all the War Games fallout to deal with here. Where would you like to start? Dakota Kai?
I think Dakota Kai is probably the most interesting story coming out of that. I think I had hoped that this was a proper return for Kevin Owens, the way he gave him his old NXT t-shirt, his old NXT Tron, and it felt like the old NXT Kevin Owens as well. But I think the way they've straight away moved him into a program with Rollins on Raw probably says that was a bit of a one and done. I thought it was good. It could have been dead interesting given the way that he refused to eliminate Ciampa from the 5-on-5-on-5, but then got eliminated by Ciampa mere minutes later. There was a nice story to be told there. The man came back, helped him all this. He's had his fingers burned. Normally, it's Kevin Owens in these situations who does these things, but I thought it was a nice story. But anyway, if they're not going to do that, the Dakota Kai story is by far the most interesting one because me and Hamflet had talked quite a bit about this in the build, that while at the start we thought it was probably the right idea not to include her in the War Games team because it gave you something to go back to after that was finished, the more she did on television in the weeks leading up to it, you were like, oh God, she deserved that. Like, it really felt like they'd missed an opportunity with her because she was excellent in the tag team match, then excellent against Baszler, then excellent again the week after. And it just felt, do you know what it is? Like, that's an opportunity that's going to pass her by. And then obviously they did this. And it really smartly informed what they did because you were like, well, I don't want you to literally take Tegan Nox's leg off with this cage door, but boy, howdy do I understand your frustrations with it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play it because I think if they just go for it out and out, you all never understood me, classic WWE heel turn promo, it'll be boring. But if they have the shades of grey in it, like, oh, they told me I wasn't good enough, and then look who they came crawling to. I think there's an interesting way to do it, and I'm nervous about whether or not they will. Yeah,
it's always the case, isn't it, that the best heels have a motivation that you can sort of understand. Yep. And we saw that. I mean, we saw with them saying, come on, Dakota, why don't you join the team when they were loading Mia Yim into the ambulance on the pre-show for War Games, and her being, well, at the time, seemingly not that interested in doing it. But even prior to that, the perfect personification for this was when they were like, sorry, Dakota, you're not good enough to be in the team. We're going to pick Mia Yim. And Tegan Nox was just like, I know we're best friends, but bye. It was perfect.
I have been critical of NXT's storytelling and the way they build towards matches and the character development and why do I care who wins this match, etc., etc. This has completely banished all of that for me. I think it's been perfectly executed and plotted from the jump. I'd love to see a really good promo from Dakota Kai because I'd really just like to see a really good promo on NXT TV. I don't think there are enough of them. But yeah, I'm very excited about where this leads because realistically, like, this has just been a bit of a masterstroke in terms of mid-card storytelling outside of the title picture. And how often do we say that about a WWE brand?
I've never ever known, I think probably the entire time I've been doing this job, a more predictable heel turn catch me as much by surprise.
Yes, great way of putting it.
Because literally that one where they did where everyone was getting injured backstage and Dakota Kai was like, don't worry Mia, I've got your back. I actually sat there and went, oh, you're better than this. She's going to push her off the ladder. I can't be bothered with this at all. And she came down and they didn't do it. And I was like, oh, do you know what? It's a bit of a weird way to tell this story, but all right, fair enough. You've got me there with a bit of a swerve. Relaxed perfectly. Even when she ended up going into that team, I was like, oh, well, this probably makes sense because apparently Mia Yim did hurt her ribs like in that ladder match. So I guess it's probably an injury thing they're just trying to write over. And you know what? I'm kind of happy for Dakota Kai.
Happy accident.
It's a happy accident, yeah. Oh my God, what's she doing? It was like, absolutely, it got me. It properly got me.
It's very rare that you're sitting there going, you know what, Sam Roberts has got a point on the pre-show. Before we get to Rhea Ripley, who, as you pointed out, had one of the best weekends in wrestling.
I genuinely can't think of a better 3-day run for any wrestler. Mostly because
Adam Cole?
Well, exactly. That's what I want to get to now, because I know you were really concerned going into this weekend about how Adam Cole was going to survive. He was going to have the ladder match with Dijakovic. He was going to obviously be involved in some way on SmackDown, War Games, and then Survivor Series with that match against Pete Dunne. As things stand, as far as we know, he has survived it despite that insane fall from the top of the cell at War Games.
Can I just say about that, by the way, the trust involved in that. I know whenever we see these wrestling spots, there's always a degree of cooperation, and you always are putting your life in the hands of the person you're working with. But the type of spot that is, like, Adam Cole has no control over his body whatsoever. They're standing on the top of that War Games cell, and he's just, Ciampa has complete hold of him. Like, it's not like they're just, remember the Gargano Cole spot where they're both like, oh, we're going to jump in. We're going to jump. It's that, but head first and without any ability to influence your own direction.
What worried me was that chain he was holding onto, which wasn't solid and in place, it moved, and I was like, oh no.
Can I say one thing on that bump before we get to Cole's subsequent character arc? On the War Games conference call that he held 3 days before it, Triple H said of Tommaso Ciampa, closely monitoring his injury. And he might have to adjust his in-ring style. Yeah, go more crazy. Because we need to beat NXT at AEW at the expense of your health and possibly life.
So, hopefully for Adam Cole tonight, a promo and that's it.
Yeah.
But what next for Adam Cole going forward?
I think the finish of the War Games match is telegraphed the next big title program, and it should be absolutely incredible. I think it kind of writes itself, but just a note on Adam Cole in general, like, I was kind of annoyed on a moral level how much they were putting him through, because you look at someone like Tegan Knox's knee injury, and they were told after the fact, you shouldn't have powered through that, don't do that again. And then you see what the value in a performer. So the next time someone has such an injury in the ring in NXT, they're going to look at what Adam Cole's achieved and what they've asked him to do to achieve, and they're just going to power through it. I thought it was disgusting, malpractice, an affront to workers' rights. But Jesus Christ, Adam Cole is the absolute best. His match with Pete Dunne, my God. It was such a cop-out where they went, oh, Pete Dunne's injured too. This is how we're going to get out of it, for the plot hole of the fact that he died the night before. And yet he got that cop-out story over because he's so amazing. Yeah, Adam Cole versus Tommaso Ciampa. Maybe a long, slow build to Portland, but without being too cynical, and this is genuinely a reasoned thing to say, they might give it away on telly to beat AEW in the ratings.
I don't disagree with that. I think old NXT, you've got a really, really good long-term build in store for that, but they do like to make these decisions, and I think if the gap starts opening up, which I think it will, if not this week, then certainly the week after, once that gap starts opening up again, I think anybody who likes wrestling full stop will watch NXT the night they say they're doing Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Cole.
And they're hopefully, I would assume, waiting around to see if Johnny Gargano can be cleared to return to that with Finn Balor, perhaps?
I would say when Gargano comes back, you've got to pick up the Balor thing straight away. And Matt Riddle was an excellent opponent to sort of put it on hold and give Balor a bit of the esteem back.
And make you believe that Balor might lose.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? I remember when they did, was it Ciampa Velveteen Dream?
Yes.
A takeover. And everyone was like, that was
War Games last year, wasn't it?
War Games last year?
I can't remember, but it was last year.
It's like, what's the point in this? Like, we know, like, Velveteen Dream is literally just like starting to get himself over. There's no way they're gonna what a complete waste of a title match. It's 3 or 4 times in that match. I was like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. And I don't know, the Matt Riddle thing, I never ever bought for a second he was ever gonna be. I mean, imagine Balor goes back to NXT and loses to Matt Riddle on like show 1, on match 1, and yet part of that match is like, bloody hell, he's going to do it. He's actually going to do it.
That's just how good the talent is nowadays in NXT and AEW.
Right, let's talk a little bit about Rhea Ripley. It would seem set up for her to chase Shayna Baszler now, but as you mentioned there, what a weekend she had.
I'm going to say this. I don't think what they've done this week is set up for her to chase Shayna Baszler. I don't think it's for that. I think they know that the main roster needs the shake-up of putting Baszler up there, and they simultaneously know that it's going to leave a huge, huge gap on NXT. Like, the start of next year, heading into WrestleMania season, is going to be really fascinating to see how they start addressing call-ups, because, if this was still on the network, you'd be looking at it going, well, we've got to get Undisputed Era, got to go up. Like, Matt Riddle's probably going to go up soon. They're going to lose Keith Lee in the next 5 minutes. Baszler's got to go up. But now you're like, well, hang on. They're building stars here who are genuine, turn the channel over stars. And how do you, promote them to a show if it's going to start dipping your own ratings? And I think the reason they're really strong on Rhea Ripley is because I think plans probably already are in the works for Baszler to go up around the Royal Rumble time. It was clear the way they were positioning the Becky thing. There's a story there they want to do, whether or not that's changed now, given that Vince apparently really didn't like the main event. I think they need they need Ripley because I think they look at the rest of that women's division and see great workers, solid hands, people who'll give you 4.5-star takeover matches, but not somebody people are going to turn the channel over for. Like, I don't think Bianca Belair or Candice LeRae or Io Shirai, as good as they are, and they are great, are the kind of people that are going to be tuned in for. I think they want a sort of Becky Lynch effect, I think, and they don't quite get that with Baszler. Like, she hasn't got... I don't know what it is. Like, Baszler's excellent, but I don't think WWE look at her and just think, you know what it is? You're a star. I think she can be put in a star program, but she's not the main thing in it. And I think they think they've got that in Ripley. I think they think they've got a real one-off in her, possibly because of her age, possibly because of her physique, possibly because of her ability, whatever it is.
Exciting times for Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I would do the match next week, personally.
Yeah.
On a cynical level, to try and get like a major main event. On a character level, she's done everything possible to stake a claim to that title. She's had the best weekend of her life. How can you build her from here? They've done an absolutely tremendous job. There's nowhere else to go but a date for that title with Shayna Baszler. The timing is perfect for a title switch. The opponent is perfect. It's just a perfect storm of get it done as soon as possible.
It's kind of come round a bit because I thought they'd really hurt Ripley quite a lot in the build-up.
Oh, they had, aye.
They had this great chase for the title picture. All these different people coming at it from different angles. And it felt genuinely very on an equal footing between obviously her, Bianca, Io, Candice as well. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, me and my mates are going to go to War Games instead. And it was like, that's
what happens to me when I do Australia.
Just kind of chucked it. Yeah, can you do it? Me and my mates are going to go to War Games instead.
Bloody hell, me and my bloody mates are going to go to bloody War Games instead.
Exactly that. And it's got, all right, you were a believable killer for me 2 or 3 weeks ago. And now,
me? Oh no, sorry.
Yeah, and now...
Well, with the moustache, aye.
God.
Except women in back alleys.
Yeah.
Right, let's wrap
Which isn't too dissimilar to Rhea Ripley.
My point is that they've really come around. Like, in the space of 3 days, they've completely chucked that very, very bad booking out the window with her because, I mean, she's pinned probably, aside from Becky, the 3 biggest names she could possibly have pinned.
Yeah.
It was grin and bear it through the Vince imposition crap, wasn't it? Like, oh, we'll have to do this because he wants to be AEW, so let's throw all of our really well-built existing canon out of the window. So, yeah, I think the mere fact that TakeOver happened as it unfolded was just a testament to how good that brand actually is on its own terms.
Very quickly, finally, a couple of championship matches tonight on NXT. I mean, a fairly straightforward one. Lio Rush versus Akira Tozawa. Of course, that already happened at Survivor Series with Kalisto's involvement as well. So it would look like a simple victory for Lio Rush there.
You'd say so, but with it being in Full Sail, it's got the potential to be far better.
A great match regardless. And the Undisputed Era defending their tag team titles against Keith Lee and Dominic Dijakovic. Interesting this, considering how hot they are on Keith Lee in particular.
Interesting this because, again, people are biased when it comes to AEW. They're biased against AEW, in my opinion. This is the new I'm going to get loads of pelters gimmick take that I'm working on.
Podcast Seth Rollins got it.
But when... Oh, my God. When Darby Allin, who defeated Cody, it must be said, had a number 1 contenders match with Jimmy Havoc, who was less well built, everyone went mental and threw pelters at AEW for, like, how dare they betray this, like, the sanctity of their win-loss record system, right? Keith Lee and Dominic Dijakovic haven't tagged in NXT, and yet they're getting a title match. It's a very raw thing to do, and I've seen no complaints about that whatsoever. One product is held to a higher standard, and it's the one that everyone thinks people are biased towards. It's ridiculous to me. I mean, it's going to be a great match. What a dickhead to say. What a complete dickhead I am to be cynical about it. But the point remains, people are biased against AEW.
It's a fair point.
I'm just looking forward to the match.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Well, let us know
Don't get the ratings.
Let us know your thoughts ahead of this week's Wednesday night. Well, who do you think is going to win in the ratings war? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch there. Follow all 3 of us. You can follow Michael Sidgwick at
Sidgwick.
You can follow Adam Clery at
Adam Clery.
CLERY.
Yeah, there you go.
And you can make sure you join Adam Clery tomorrow for the ups and downs for NXT.
For the actually have my own Le Champion celebration on Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
To celebrate the greatest underdog victory in wrestling history.
Was this a good faith bet from Miller?
Genuine. Well, I could go into details, but I put it this way: there was a clown costume in my basket on Amazon.
Was there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yep.
100%.
Raw and 4-hour-long handicap match. Who could have predicted?
True. Who could have predicted that Vince didn't want NXT to win?
But make sure you join Simon Miller as well for Ups and Downs for AEW, but in particular Ups and Downs for SmackDown this week, where he will be dressed as a clown. You can follow me on Twitter at Adam Wilbourn. Follow Simon Miller at Simon Miller 316. Follow us all at WhatCulture WWE, as I said. This has been the Wednesday Night War preview. My thanks to Michael Sidgwick and Adam Clery. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.